Hey guys, it's Steve here with Geek Boulevard. I recently had the chance to check out Dune Part 2. Wow, I have some things to say about this movie. This was a highly anticipated film for a lot of people. Obviously, I was one of them, and I was so eager to check out the second half of this story, and man, does it deliver in spades. Dune Part 2 is once again directed by Denis Villeneuve. It is rated PG-13 with a runtime of 2 hours and 46 minutes. Just a heads up, I will be getting into spoilers later in this video, but I have included timestamps that you can click around at your leisure. If you just want to skip the spoilers entirely and just go to my overall thoughts and score, you can do that. Otherwise, if you don't care about spoilers, by all means, stick around. The first thing I want to highlight here is just how the shots in this film are, for lack of a better word, just mesmerizing. They're just so gorgeous to look at. Greg Fraser, who is the cinematographer, remember this guy's name because he needs to be on all the posters. He's just so good at his craft. I mean, obviously, returning from Part 1, he also did the cinematography for Gareth Edwards' the creator, as well as Matt Reeves' the Batman. So he's got a lot of credits to his resume, and rightly so, because I mean, there are so many wide shots of these characters on this large canvas, this desert canvas, and it just blew me away. And it was so sweeping, so huge, so majestic. You feel that spectacle through those shots, and he has this ability to show so much in just one frame. It's really quite shocking how good he is at his job. Definitely a shoo-in for best cinematography, no question. Now, a film is only as good as its score, and it's no surprise that Hans Zimmer makes his return from Dune Part 1, and he brings the absolute best that he can to the table for this film. I'm a huge fan of his compositions in general. Ever since I saw Batman Begins, I've just been a huge fan of his work, not just his film scores, but all of his original works as well. He was definitely a major player in fleshing out this world even more and helping to create the Sardaukar language that, was playing at the beginning of the first film. You also get that same language that plays at the start of this film as well. The use of drums and the way the music plays as if a war is going on, which it is, there is a war brewing in this story. It made for a very rich experience. I believe there was a Vanity Fair interview that he did for the first Dune where he goes into detail about how the Sardaukar language was made in the studio and how he likes to basically create sounds that don't really exist. And I don't know if he's a mad genius or what, but it shows in both Part 1 and Part 2. The visual effects, which were done by, I think it was Double Negative, the visual effects on display here are absolutely mind-blowing. I found it very hard trying to determine what was a visual effect and what was real sometimes. It was actually quite difficult to figure that out. I mean, sure, there are moments where you can definitely tell. I mean, it's not like they actually shot footage of a gigantic sandworm in the desert. Those things don't really exist. But when those visual effect heavy moments happen, like when Paul is riding a sandworm or when the spice harvesters are being dropped into the desert, the action heavy set pieces are just gorgeous eye candy. There were multiple moments where my jaw was literally hitting the floor as the VFX just had me hypnotized the whole way through. Now, I have to talk about the cast here. The ensemble cast is stellar on all fronts. Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya are obviously the main stars here, and Zendaya has a lot more screen time as well. They have such great chemistry on screen. Just seeing how Chalamet adds an extra layer to Paul Atreides and how the character just evolves over the course of the film. It was really exciting to see. In Part 1, the question was, is he a leader? Does he have that potential? And, you see it in his character that there's a lot of self-doubt. He doesn't consider himself to be this prophet that everyone, is thinking that he is. But in this part, it's more of a question of how will he lead? What will he do with the knowledge that he has? Chalamet really plays with that and has a lot of fun doing it. Zendaya's character, Chani, like I said, gets far more screen time as opposed to Part 1, and her journey with Paul is equally as intriguing because she tries to grapple with this so-called prophecy, and she believes in more like realistic things, not so much religion, and she doesn't really put a lot of stake into that. But she sticks with Paul as she really only believes in Paul and his good-hearted nature, that he stays the way he is, to get the Fremen through this very tumultuous time. I mean, I could go on and on and on about the main cast, but then this review would just never end. So I'll just briefly go through some more of the heavy hitters. Rebecca Ferguson was fantastic, even more so in this film. Javier Bardem had some really great moments as Stilgar. Austin Butler, oh man, Austin Butler as Fade Rotha, a psychopathic murderer. He just commanded such a performance when he was on screen. It was very unsettling the way that he portrayed this very sadistic character. It was very well done. Okay, from this point, I will be getting into spoilers. So like I said, if you do not want to know what I thought of the ending of this film and you just want to get my overall thoughts and score, please skip this section so that the ending is not ruined for you. You have been warned. Okay, with that out of the way, I personally really liked the way the film ended. This journey that Paul Atreides was on, I feel, was very reminiscent of sort of the fall of Anakin Skywalker when he succumbed to the dark side and became Darth Vader. Paul was prophesied to be this voice of the outer worlds, the Lisan al-Gaib, and to lead them into this paradise, it turns out it was more about, not so much about leading them into paradise, but to control and also to take revenge. And he sets out to kill those responsible for basically wiping out his entire house in one night. He becomes a leader, but not in the way that I was expecting. He succumbed to that power and initiated this big holy war with the other houses, just as he feared that he would. The Paul Atreides that Chani knew is gone, and the sadness in her eyes and anger that she feels towards him for basically turning his back on the people that took him in and made him one of their own. His mother was also a manipulator behind the scenes to garner more followers, to basically give him more power. And that's why Rebecca Ferguson did such a great job here, as she was so cunning and ruthless. It turns out that Lady Jessica is actually the Baron's daughter, and therefore her and Paul are Harkonnens. That blew my mind. And it also made me think of when Rey found out that she was the granddaughter of Emperor Palpatine. Granted, I think maybe Dune did it better here than Star Wars. Anya Taylor-Joy is in the film as Lady Jessica's daughter and Paul Atreides' sister, Alia, who I feel is going to have a bigger role to play in the next film should it be made. I mean, it's guaranteed that there's going to be a sequel. Denis even said that he wants to make a third film. She's only in it for one shot, but I think they wouldn't have casted someone of her caliber for one shot of the movie if she wasn't going to be in a future sequel, which, like I said, I feel is definitely coming at some point. So it's just a matter of when Denis has the time to even make it. This is basically a sad story that doesn't really have a happy ending. The supposed hero basically becomes the villain, everything that he feared he would be. And I love the way the story brought it to that point. My only negative about the film is that I wish it was longer. The almost 3-hour runtime, I feel it just wasn't enough. I needed more of this world and these characters. I was sad to see the credits roll. I mean, it's obvious that I'm going to score this movie a 5 out of 5. Stellar performances, a tremendous score, masterful direction by Denis Villeneuve. The visual effects are amazing, the cinematography, everything is just, I'm just speechless about all of it, on just how beautiful these shots are in this movie. Denis got to make his dream film, and he knocked it out of the park, so well done. With all that down, I want to know what you guys thought of Dune Part 2. Have you seen it yet? Have you watched the first Dune yet? What are your thoughts on the ending of this tale? Have you read the books? How does it stack up in terms of an adaptation of those stories? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, stay up to date on what movies I review next. There's definitely a couple more coming out this month that I'm going to be checking out. So once again, stay tuned to Geek Boulevard. Until next time, folks, keep it classy and keep it geeky.